There is a question that seems very simple, but if you stop long enough to truly listen to it, it can quietly shake your entire life. Why do we care so much about what other people think of us to the point that almost every decision passes through their eyes first? The way you dress, the way you speak, the path you choose to live. We fear rejection. We fear judgment. We fear being pushed outside the circle. But what if the thing you fear the most, being disliked, criticized, or not approved of, is not a disaster, but the first door to freedom? Maybe the price of living honestly has always been the willingness to disappoint others. And if that is true, then perhaps many of us have never truly lived at all. This video is not about how to be liked more. It is about how to no longer need to be liked, not through loud rebellion, but through a deeper kind of freedom, a more dangerous freedom, a more real one. Thousands of years ago, being accepted was not emotional. It was about survival. To be rejected by the tribe meant hunger, cold, and death. Our ancestors learned quickly. To survive, they had to fit in. They had to be similar. They had to belong. Over generations, this lesson did not disappear. It became wired into the nervous system. Today, even though no one is eaten by wild animals for having a different opinion, your body still reacts as if that danger is real. A cold look, a critical comment, an uncomfortable silence. The heart beats faster, the chest tightens, the body sounds an alarm. This is not weakness, it is instinct. The problem begins when this ancient survival instinct is carried into a completely different world. A world where rejection no longer kills you, but you still live as if it does. And so, many life choices come not from freedom, but from fear. We often think of prison as something with walls and bars, but the most dangerous prison is the one you cannot see. It does not lock your body. It locks your choices. Social media understands this very well. Each like is a small hit of dopamine. Each unfollow feels like a wound to self-worth. Slowly, you stop sharing what you believe. You share what you think will be approved. Life becomes a performance, polished, edited, but no longer real. And it is not only social media. At work, many people choose safety instead of meaning, not because they love the job, but because it looks respectable. In families, many people live their whole lives trying to meet expectations that were never theirs. Even when parents are gone, the judging voice remains inside. So self-worth is sent outward, placed in the hands of others. You may think you are free, but if you need approval to feel okay with yourself, you're not free. You're only permitted. Some people in history saw this cage and stepped outside it. Diogenes lived in a barrel. No property, no status, no reputation. When Alexander the Great asked if he wanted anything, Diogenes said, "Stand out of my sunlight." In that moment, a man with nothing was freer than a man who ruled the world, because no one can control someone who needs no approval. Centuries later, existential philosophers said the same thing in different words. Kierkegaard said, "The crowd is untruth, because when you disappear into it, you lose yourself." Sartre said, "Human beings are condemned to be free. There is no script, no assigned role, no one else to blame. Even living for approval is still a choice." Camus looked at the universe and saw silence, no built-in meaning, no ready answers. And he said, "To live honestly is a quiet rebellion against that silence." They all shared one truth. Freedom does not come from being liked. Freedom begins when you accept that you may be disliked. We often say we want freedom, but we rarely say we want the weight of freedom. Because freedom removes excuses. You cannot blame tradition. You cannot blame family. You cannot blame society. Every choice is yours. Every consequence too. Kierkegaard called this feeling the dizziness of freedom. Like standing at the edge of a cliff. You fear falling, but you also know you could jump. That awareness makes you shake. So many people run back to the crowd, back to rules, back to ready-made answers, not because they are true, but because they are lighter. But the cost of that comfort is a life that is not yours. Each time you live more honestly, you break an unspoken agreement. The agreement that everyone will pretend, and you will too. When you refuse, you become a mirror. And most people do not like what they see. Criticism appears, not because you are wrong, but because you are free. History shows this clearly. Socrates was executed. Jesus was crucified. Van Gogh was ignored while alive, not because they were cruel, but because they did not conform. Being disliked is not the goal, but fearing it is a chain. Courage is not aggression. Courage is staying true while others disapprove. Carl Jung called the social mask the persona. It helps you function. But if you wear it too long, you forget who you are. You become good at the role, good at pleasing, good at being accepted. But at night, there is emptiness. A quiet question. Is this really me? Removing the mask does not happen all at once. It begins with noticing. Noticing when you say yes to avoid discomfort. Noticing when you stay silent out of fear. Each moment of awareness creates a crack in the mask. And through those cracks, the real self can breathe. Living authentically is not easy. You may lose approval, relationships, illusions, but you gain something rarer, yourself. When you stop living to be liked, you start living to be true. And strangely, when you no longer need approval, you become free to love, not as someone asking permission, but as a whole human being. There may be no applause. Some may turn away. But if you can stand in that silence, you will know. You are no longer owned. That is dangerous freedom. But it is real freedom.